Andy, then, first of all, captain last week, of course. I mean, that must have been a proud moment for you. Your tweet went a little bit viral as well, didn't it? It garnered quite a lot of response.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, obviously, like you said, really proud moment for me. Nice one for my family as well. They've watched Bristol City for a lot longer than I have, so I'm sure to see their son or nephew or brother, whoever it is, leading the team out for that particular game would have been a proud moment for them as well. So yeah, it was obviously a disappointing result, but I thought the performance, on the whole, was probably one of our best we've had this season. So that's encouraging, and if we can take that sort of performance into the last 21 games of the season, I'm sure we can have a really strong finish and a strong second half of the year.
Yeah, were you surprised by the amount of response that your tweet got?
No, you know what, to be honest, I don't pay too much attention to social media. It's nice to obviously put your own feelings across. It was nice to put a good one across, having had to do the one after QPR, to be honest. It was nice to have something, more of a proud moment for me to be able to put out there. But that's football. You have some bad times and you have some good times, and I think it's important that you front up to both of those. And yeah, I did that, and yeah, it was nice. It got a good response, but ultimately it's about moving forward now. It's about performances and getting points back in the league again.
Yeah, what will you remember most though about leading the team out that day? Because I suspect you probably thought back to the days you watched from the sidelines from the terrace, and probably dreamt of leading the team out one day. So what will you remember? What will you take away most from that day?
Yeah, I think probably just walking out first. Obviously, when I first started coming to watch, the tunnel was actually where it is now. It hadn't moved behind the goal by that stage. So I was just thinking that was me sat across from the tunnel, back in the day, and now it's me leading the team out. I think, it was a proud moment, but you have to sort of put that to one side, and be professional and think about the performance, think about the game, think about your own performance and how you can help your teammates, especially in the case we're in at the moment. We've got a lot of young players, a lot of good young players, but they do need help and guidance, and that's where it's down to myself and some of the older lads to try and help them.
Yeah, and I guess from your point of view now, it's about kicking on, isn't it? From that, putting the injuries behind you and moving on.
Yeah, for sure. It was really frustrating, just as I obviously didn't play as much as I would have liked last year, and then just as you're finding some rhythm into this season, 7 or 8 games in, pick up another injury, and it's one of those things. So yeah, hopefully that's behind me now, and I've had a couple of games. I felt good. I feel good in training. So yeah, hopefully a big second half of the season for the team and for myself personally as well.
Yeah, an injury and red card against QPR, which you referenced a moment ago aside, how have you enjoyed playing for Bristol City?
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it, to be honest. I love my time here. That's almost why the injury was as frustrating or more frustrating. Like I say, just as you feel like you're getting a bit of the rhythm. We were in actually a really good place as well. Sort of going into that Bournemouth game, we just had the win before the international break. We were in a good place in the league, and then obviously the injury came and things have started to fall away and stuff like that. But I think in recent weeks, we've managed to sort of claw that back. There's been some really good performances. The team's playing well, and like I keep saying, it's going to be a big, hopefully 4 or 5 months of the season now.
Yeah, is it a good or a bad thing to be playing Fulham again back-to-back weeks?
If you asked me after Saturday, I would have said, it's a good thing. We're looking forward to playing them. But listen, after their result on Tuesday night, it just shows what a quality outfit they are. I think, people are aware them and Bournemouth are probably, no disrespect to the other teams, they're head and shoulders above the rest of the league. I think in terms of financial, in terms of size of club, in terms of the Premier League exposure they've had over the last couple of years, I think you can see that probably now more than ever with the parachute payments and the effects of COVID on the other teams. I think you can see why they've managed to accumulate much bigger squads and stuff like that, which is obviously standing them in good stead again this season. I think they'll be the two who will take those top 2 places. I know it's early to say, but from what we've seen in the first half of the season, it certainly looks like it's those two who are going to run away with it. So we listen. We know it's going to be a tough game. We know we're in for a tough game, but if we can play like we did on Saturday, like I say, it was a really good performance from us, then we can cause anyone trouble.
Yeah, you mentioned the 7-0 win that Fulham had. What was your reaction to that? Does it give you something else to think about when a team goes into a game, your next opponent puts in a performance like that in their game immediately before playing you?
Yeah, of course it will. We'll look at the results of the other teams, especially ones which you're playing soon. You want to be playing a team who's out of form, not someone who's probably just beat them 7-0. But listen, football is one of those where while that game's gone, it's a new game and ultimately it's going to be down to us to try and make it difficult for them. I'm sure we can do that. Like I keep saying, I don't want to go back to last Saturday because that game's gone now and it'll be a different game, different stadium. We know it's going to be tough, but like I say, we can go there, we can cause them trouble and no reason why we can't come away with some points as well.
Yeah, and City have a good record at Craven Cottage, don't they? Won on your last 5 visits there. So has that been spoken about? Do you guys take inspiration or confidence from those kind of things?
No, to be honest, that hasn't really been spoken about. Like I said, we can't look at previous games or previous seasons. Clubs are in different situations on time gone by. You can't live on past sort of performances and things like that. We have to take it on what Fulham's going to turn up this Saturday, but more importantly, what Bristol City's going to turn up this Saturday, and how we can impose our game on them.
Yeah, and just finally, have you got any standout memories from games at Craven Cottage? Have you got any nice experiences from playing there?
Yeah, I scored there. It'll be a long time ago now, maybe 2008, 2009. I think it was a League Cup game. Maybe I remember scoring there. Trying to think of anything else. That's the one which springs to mind. I was only a young player at the time. I think it was Mark Schwarzer in goal. I remember playing against Jimmy Bullard. Actually, he was quite chirpy on the day, as you can imagine. So. Yeah, that was a nice memory. They actually went on to win, so didn't end too well. But yeah, I have scored there in previous games.
Yeah, well good luck for the weekend, Andy. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Over to Richard.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, mate.
Just on the going back to the captaincy, I just wanted to ask you how you're enjoying the kind of the role and responsibility of having the armband and leading the team out of match days.
To be honest, Richard, it's not really. Obviously, we're a squad here. Dan Bentley's the captain of the club. Continue to do that role. He's doing that role brilliantly in terms of looking after the lads, making sure that the lads are all pulling in the same direction and stuff like that. It was just, I think on that day, the manager had made changes, and he's obviously selected me for that one game. So it's not a responsibility which I'm taking on. Like I said, Dan Bentley's the club captain. He's doing a really good job with it. But it's not just about one player. It's not about the player who's got the armband. I think as a group, we can probably be better at it, if I'm being honest, in terms of trying to have as many leaders as we have on the pitch as possible. We've got some young players and some maybe inexperienced players at this level. So it's definitely about the older players in particular, trying to help those through. And the more leaders we can have on the pitch and in the group, the better for everyone.
Just going back to the younger players, how important time now with the transfer market kind of on its knees at the moment, well, the younger players are getting much more of an opportunity in the first team. Is this a golden opportunity for them to kind of make their statement in the first team?
Yeah, 100%. I've said for 18 months now, there's never been a better time to be a young player. Like you say, in the Premier League, there's 9 subs, so players are getting more exposure, more chance to train with the first team and be around the first team, and obviously players who are getting COVID and isolating, if that's 3 or 4, then all of a sudden you're in a match day squad, or younger lads are coming to train with the first team and stuff like that. So we're very fortunate here that the academy system's always produced good players, and it looks like it's doing that again. The young players we've got who've broken through this year or the year before are performing really, really well in the championship, and it obviously takes time and there will be inconsistencies, we know that, but certainly I would say that the future is bright for academy prospects here, and like you see in this season, if the gaffer thinks someone's ready, that he's not scared to throw them in. He's not one of those who goes, he's only 17 or 18. If he thinks he's good enough to play at that level, regardless of his age, then he'll put him in.
In regards to your game, after your stint in Belgium, are you delighted to be back playing in the Championship?
Yeah, absolutely delighted. To be honest, it couldn't have worked out any better in terms of me coming here at this stage of my career. It was something which I always wanted to do, and obviously I'm delighted to be here. Like I said, the injury came at a bad time for me, just as I thought the team was starting to click. I felt like I'd had a couple of games under my belt, having not played a lot last year, like you say, and was starting to feel good, and then it's a setback. But when you get to my age, you realise that football has setbacks. It has ups and downs and stuff like that, and this season I think we've shown that probably as a club we're also like that. 1 week we're really good, the next week we're not so good, and stuff like that. So it's about trying to iron out those inconsistencies, try and be a bit more consistent, a bit more predictable of what we're going to be able to perform on a Saturday, and I think that will come the more the players play together and stuff like that.
Just the last one from me, Andy. There's another sellout for the away stands for the Bristol City fans. How much of a psychological boost is that for you when you come out the tunnel and you see that away stand full? Yeah,
it's obviously massive for myself. Obviously, I remember for a game like Fulham, growing up in Maidenhead, I might have been one of those where it was a London game. My dad would have said, "Come on, let's go. It's not too far away." So the away fans have been absolutely outstanding this year. You've got to look at some of the performances we've had. You think to Cardiff and Peterborough and QPR and stuff like that, where we've given them something to go home happy with as well. It's been absolutely brilliant. So hopefully we can do that again on Saturday and reward them for their brilliant support.
Here's Andy.
Hi Andy.
Hi, mate.
Just on
Hello, mate. Sorry to go back to Saturday again, just briefly. But in your Twitter message, you mentioned your granddad.
Yeah.
Could you just talk about him in terms of his impact on your career, your life, and Bristol City?
So my granddad obviously is from Chipping Sodbury. That's where my dad's from. My dad grew up there, but it was obviously my granddad who sort of started the family in terms of supporting Bristol City. So he was the one who always wanted to take us to the games, and if ever we'd come and stay with them, he'd take us to the games and stuff like that. So he's not with us anymore, unfortunately. But I always like to try and think that he's looking down and he's really proud of hopefully me playing for Bristol City and things like that.
Yeah, must have made it especially special. When you were a kid growing up, I know it was Maidenhead. You spent, well, it was pretty much all you. Was there any? Were you ever close to Bristol City in terms of maybe the academy?
Joining the academy and stuff. No, nothing like that. I think when I was younger, the catchment area was always you had to be within an hour and a half of the area. It wasn't so. I don't know the rules, to be honest. Now I think it's a little bit more flexible. But when it was just the academies was just sort of taken over from School of Excellence. So it was more you had to be within the hour and a half radius. So it was never really an option. I went to Chelsea when I was 7 or 8. So I was picked up pretty young. I obviously stayed there until I went to Leicester. So it was never a case of coming here. We'd only ever come to Bristol if we were visiting family or things like that.
You talk about the performance on Saturday. What in particular pleased you, and that you would like to then obviously carry into Saturday's league game?
I think it was a number of things, and I don't think it's just about taking it into Saturday's league game. I think it's into taking it into the next 21 league games. Like I spoke about before, we've had games where we've been really good, and we've had games where we've been poor, to be honest. So it's about trying to be a little bit more consistent. I think the bravery on the ball is something that we've really improved on, especially in the last couple of weeks. I think we were brave at the back. We pressed high and almost went 3 for 3 at the back, allowing the midfield to try and get up and close to people. I think having the confidence to maybe play. We've tried to change the style a little bit in terms of let's not go so direct and let's try and play through the thirds a little bit. Obviously, you have to have the personnel who have the confidence to do that and things like that. And where we had a sticky spell probably around November, December time, it got a little bit harder, and you, as a player, you automatically want to minimise the risk of giving the ball away and stuff like that. So it's an easier thing to set up as a team to go direct, and that's what we decided to do at that moment. But the gaffers come around now in the last month or few weeks and said, no, this is how we want to play. And I think certainly from I can't remember the exact date, but probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think we've looked really good. I think we've picked up some positive results, and like I said, we can keep building on that and being brave enough to play as a team and knowing that there may be some mistakes which come with it, but in the whole I feel like we're creating chances. We look like we're scoring goals, and obviously we have the ball for longer periods. It's less likely to be conceding as well. So hopefully if we can carry on that style of play, then we'll pick up more positive results as the season goes on.
Absolutely. I was just meaning to ask, and kind of every young player that we've spoken to through the course of the season, they always bring you up. They always like Andy King, great, on the pitch, off the pitch, talk to. Like, what are you telling them? Like, what are they coming to you for, and what information are you passing on? Specifically, what is it, or is it just a variety of things?
I think it's a case of them coming to you and saying, "Look, King, I need this or I need this." It's more just about being on the training pitch. Maybe just one little split second saying, "Right, I'll just there, like open your body up," or try and have one less touch, or even encouragement saying, "Do that again, that was brilliant," or blah blah blah. But like I keep saying, I think the young lads here, you look at Scotty 18, Eamon 18. I know I said something after one of the games earlier in the season. To think that those lads are 18 and playing the way they are is absolutely outstanding. And it's not just that. You think of they get the plaudits because they're that young. You got Han who's only 20 and stuff like that. So the young players here are brilliant. They're going to make mistakes, as do old players. But what I will say is they've got the attitude to learn, and I think that's why those particular players will certainly go to the top. Even lads who haven't maybe had as many chances. Tommy Conway came on at the weekend. Great kid, great attitude, all the attributes to go to the top as well. And I'm sure there's others who I'm trying to think in my head now who I've forgotten. But yeah, the future here, they have a lot of good young players, and it's actually a credit to try and help those lads because the attitude they have is superb, and the fact that they want to learn, that's the biggest compliment you can pay people at that age.
Great stuff. Thanks for your time, Andy.
No worries.
Hi Andy, I'm just following with that. When you've been given the captain's armband, do you see perhaps yourself change when you have that armband, or are you still an influential figure even without the captain's armband?
No, I wouldn't say I changed, to be honest. I've had it a lot of times. I had it at Leicester from a pretty young age. It's not. doesn't make me feel I need to change anything. You know, I'll be the same whether I have it or whether I don't. Like I said, Bence is the club captain, and he knows the senior players are there to support him as and when he needs, and obviously if he needs anything. So, you know, no matter who wears it, it's more for me about having as many leaders on the pitch as we can possibly have, and stuff like that. So it's about everyone taking responsibility. Listen, with the QPR thing as well, just touching on that, the whole thing afterwards, saying, you know, the 3 points was on me. It's about us trying to learn to take accountability for our own actions. You know, one week you might score the goal and that is on you. You've won the team the game. But the next week, for example, my situation, I got sent off and we didn't win the game. If I was on the pitch, would we have defended the set piece better? Possibly not. But you have to take accountability for your own actions, and I think that's something that we need to try and get into the group, and I think that's something which we're learning and trying to do.
And obviously before a match, and that Daniel Bentley hasn't been in the team starting as of late. As a captain, obviously you have a message from the manager. Do you put yourself forward before a match, and who kind of leads that? Is it still Dan Bentley because he's first team captain in a pre-match talk maybe?
Yeah, Bence is still very much involved. Obviously, like you say, he's only missed 1 or 2 games this season, so it's not like he's been out of action for however long. And like I say, he's a top captain. He's the captain of the club, and he's the one who's still leading by example. You know, he's still geeing all the lads up before the game. You know, he's handled it absolutely brilliantly. So, you know, can't speak highly enough of him. And he's still the one who everyone will go to in terms of if they need anything, and he'll still deal with that.
Dan, have you got a question?
Yeah, hi Andy.
Hi mate.
I just wanted to ask, you mentioned the bravery on the ball and coming through a lot more in the last few games, and the younger players, like the midfield you were in part of last week was like incredibly young. I think people forget how young Han Noah is. Does it surprise you to see players that young being that like positive and that brave and taking those risks?
No, it doesn't surprise me because I see them, you know, on a daily basis in training. You know, obviously been fortunate with the career I've had to always see young players to play at the level which they have done, to be playing like that and to take the risk. So it doesn't surprise me. No, it's nice to see them thinking that knowing they have the ability to do that and having the confidence to do that. I think sometimes at that age you can almost be better at it because you've probably not had the one where you might have given it away and they've scored, you know, where maybe as someone in their mid-20s or as they get older will think, I'm not sure about that because, you know, I've done it before away in this game in 2000 and whatever, and they broke away and scored. I think when you're young, you're free. You might have done it in an academy game where it means nothing. So I think it can work in their favour. And like you say, the young lads here are certainly happy doing that. I think the way they've been coached here is really good, and they're probably happier doing that as well. So no, it doesn't surprise me to see them being so confident with that at all.
And just on the game coming up Saturday, like it's been, like you said, a number of good away performances, especially earlier in the season, like Cardiff and Reading and Peterborough. Do you think there's been like a change in mentality compared to those games recently away from home?
To be honest, this is my first game back since my injury away from home, so it's hard to say. Not that I've noticed, not around the training ground. I wouldn't say there's been a change in mentality. Listen, we know the away performances of late haven't been good enough, and it's something we need to readdress. Like I say, at the start of the season, we almost couldn't get the home performance right, but the away performances were really good. And I think sometimes when you're away, it's about digging in, you know, showing that character like we had to do in those games you mentioned. You know, a couple of them were 3-2 and we went behind and then came back and stuff like that. So, you know, you have to stand up, you have to be counted, and, you know, away from home, it's not always going to be easy. Sometimes, especially at games like Fulham and probably Bournemouth coming up, you know, you are going to have to ride your luck if you want to get anything, but it's about throwing your bodies on the line and stuff like that, but also about being confident to take the ball, have possession and keep the ball off them for long periods as well if you want to try and get anything out of those games. So I think that's something that we need to try and get back to.